Today is Monday, July 25th, and you should be reading today from 2 Kings 7 and 8, 2 Chronicles 21, and Matthew 6. Today I want to focus on the 2 Kings passage and looking at what God did through Elisha. There were some crazy, awesome stories about Elisha. Elisha has just a ton of stuff that happened already in his narrative. Stuff like axe heads, heavy axe heads floating in water, people being restored and changed. And here in this story, before we start chapter 7, chapter 7 starts in the middle of this little section. There has been a siege of their city. And the thing is, the king is an evil king. The leader of Israel, he is evil. And so it's so bad. There's a famine, and this army has surrounded the city so that they have no way to escape, no way to even get out to go get food, and it's become real bad. You see, it says here that a donkey's head sold for 80 shekels of silver, and a quarter of a cab of sea pods was for 5 shekels. This is like crazy expensive stuff for junk, basically. And so they're having a crisis. They're having a horrible experience, this city, all these people. And in fact, at one point, there's a couple of women that come in and they're fighting and arguing over who's going to eat each other's son, and just crazy things that are happening here. It's driving them crazy. No food, no water. It's crazy. Whereas Elisha comes and actually the king he says, I'm going to have Elisha's head cut off. And Elisha responds to the servant, the messenger to the king. He says, you know what? Hear the word of the Lord. This is what the Lord says. About this time tomorrow, he says, basically, some of the stuff that's crazy expensive is going to be sold for really cheap tomorrow. We're going to have so much food, so much plunder, you're not going to believe it. And so it comes true. It's true that all of this stuff, by the next day, they have lots of food, they have lots of stuff. There's an army faced outside the camp, surrounding them so they can't escape. How are they going to get all these things? Well, here's how it happens. We go on down to verse 8. Verse 8 tells exactly what happened. The Lord had caused the Arameans to hear the sound of chariots and horses and a great army, so that they said to one another, look, the king of Israel has hired the Hittite and Egyptian kings to attack us. So they got up and fled in the dusk and abandoned their tents and their horses and their donkeys. They left the camp as it was and ran for their lives. You see, they didn't have to do anything. God just protected them. He caused this to happen in the middle of their crisis. And so Elisha, he didn't have to do anything either. He just trusted in the Lord in the midst of the crisis, realizing God's in control. I'm not. There's this theme here of God is always in control. We are not. We need to trust in Him and realize that when we have things that we're going through, I don't know what it is that you're going through, but whatever it is that you are facing today, maybe it's a job crisis, maybe your family is falling apart, maybe you have a crazy thing going on in your house, maybe it's in your job, whatever it is. I want you to remember that God is in control. When we trust Him, we can trust God no matter what. in the midst of all the craziness that we go through, we can know that He is in control and that He's going to deliver us, just as He delivered the Israelites in here. And so I want to encourage you that whatever you are going through, the crisis that you're facing today, may be a joy-filled blessing tomorrow. And so the main thing to do is trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean on to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge Him and He will direct your paths. And so go with that challenge, that focus, remembering that today's crisis may be God's blessing tomorrow. Until we see each other again, you are sent.